Sports Desk at the Columbus Dispatch presents the BuckeyeXtra Basketball Podcast. With your host, Ohio State basketball beat writer Adam Jardy.
Brady Batiste says, "Give me the rock." Here it goes. Up and away. Slam jam bam, and now he does a little dance.
Now, the BuckeyeXtra Basketball Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Adam Jardy from the Columbus Dispatch. Today is Monday, August 25th, 2025. And it's my official duty to welcome you into episode 492 of the BuckeyeXtra Men's Basketball Podcast. Welcome to Jubilation City. With the date being August 25th, 2025, I feel like I should be able to work a Zager and Evans reference into the intro here, but I'm just frankly not that clever. So if you get the reference, though, shout out to you. Great song. So, I'm here with you. It's Monday morning, and it's starting to feel like fall. It's the first time in Central Ohio that it actually feels like summer might be ending, and basketball will be getting close, and certainly football starts this weekend for the Buckeyes, and all the fall things are right there on the fringe. It feels like we're getting really close, and so on this week, it is a kind of quietly big week. I mean, there's not like anything in the way of like major news yet as we sit here on a Monday morning. However, Ohio State's fall semester begins Tuesday, August 26th. So that means tomorrow. The whole team arrived on campus last week, all 14 players on the roster. And this week will be the first week that Matthew Grujicic will get to start actually participating with the Buckeyes. This is like the first week of the fall. And so that's why it's quietly important. It's the beginning of the foundation for what the season's going to be. And so it's worth taking stock and noting where we are right now and saying, like, this is when they'll start kind of getting ready to figure things out. And obviously full practices don't start here for a little while, and we still don't have a Big Ten schedule. We might not have that for like another 3 weeks or so, but it is the start of fall classes at Ohio State. And that obviously means things are getting much closer to getting underway. So just wanted to certainly point that out, that we are at the beginning of the fall and classes are getting underway. And if you're playing basketball for Ohio State, you're going to need to be in class pretty soon here. And so on that topic, it's probably worth pointing out that any other potential additions to the roster, you could say rapidly running out of time. Doesn't mean 0% chance, but does mean that with every day that someone does not get a waiver or does not get added to the roster, I mean, there are, real academic deadlines that have to be met. And there are withdrawal dates and dates by which you can add a class or where you can withdraw and get some of your money back. And September 5th is one of those. September 19th is another one of those. We'll see. But as of this point here early Monday morning, heck, that could change by Monday evening. Like, that's just kind of how this stuff works. But as of Monday morning, it's where Ohio State sits, all 14 guys on campus, getting ready to get classes underway, and we'll get their first in-person look at Matthew Grujicic. So we've got a guest on the podcast today, so I'm not going to talk very long here in the intro or, frankly, in the outro. In a minute here, you're going to hear my conversation with Coach George Howard, friend of the pod, repeat guest. You know him. Always great to have him on. And in our conversation, we talk about recruiting visit season getting underway, Marcus Johnson staying home, Jake Diebler, recruits on Ohio State's radar, upcoming Ohio State season, and a whole lot of other stuff. So stick around for that. It's always great talking with George, and I think you're going to enjoy the conversation. So we'll get to that here in just a second. Before we do, I want to remind you that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. If you subscribe, you automatically get the newest ones just as soon as our man Patrick Flaherty, the Podfather, can grab them and publish them for you. While you're subscribing or downloading, please leave a review. Please click 5 stars, and please consider telling a friend. Thanks to everyone who's taken the time to do all those things. We are inching closer to episode 500, which we might hit in like a month. So if you have thoughts on what you'd like to hear for episode 500, hit me up. Let me know. I'm officially opening the gates for your suggestions. So let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear for that episode. I feel like we got to do something cool. All right. So now, without further ado, let's get to my conversation with George Howard. All right, now I'm thrilled to welcome a return guest back here to the BuckeyeXtra podcast. You all know him. I'll read you his bio on Twitter. He's coached AAU high school and professional basketball for 40 years, Director of Basketball Ops / Recruiting Director for Phenom United, 20 years with All Ohio Basketball. And today we've got him on to talk some recruiting, some AAU, Ohio basketball, and more. We got Coach George Howard here. So, George, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Adam. I mean, the job that you do is I couldn't do. It's unbelievable. And I follow you every day because you keep everybody updated and informed of what's going on with Buckeye basketball and throughout the state. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. We're going to have to clip that and put that in the intro to the podcast because that's one of the nicest things anyone's ever said about me. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're getting here to the end of August, and that means visit season is going to be coming up, and you're going to see kids everywhere checking out schools and starting to cut their lists and things like that. So I thought maybe we could start here. You've helped so many players kind of go through this process. When guys are going on fall visits, when they're checking out schools, like in general, what are those visits like, and what sort of things do you tell kids to look for when they're going to these visits to these schools?
Well, they're exciting for most kids, and they should be. And I tell kids all the time to enjoy the process because you can't come back and do this again. Because if we could all come back and do something again, we would, but you can't. So enjoy the process, take full advantage of it. And, but the thing that you really want to look for on a visit is you want to look for the sincerity from college coaches. Mm-hmm. You want to see how are they when it comes to really trying to build a relationship with you. If they seem like someone you can go and talk to when you need to go and talk to them, do they seem like someone that's a player's coach, someone that can deal with today's youth, because that's a lot, and you've got a lot of old school coaches out there that really can't deal with today's youth. It's my way or the highway, and it's no sitting down talking about it. So I just tell them and the parents, and you'll know when you walk out of there how genuine it was, and you'll know if it was just going through the motion. You'll know that. So I tell parents and players exactly that. Feel the vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting because I feel like in a lot of cases now, like the coaching world has kind of gotten younger to an extent. You still have, I think, certainly like a level of coaches that have hung around and done it for a really long time. But I also think we're seeing some turnover. We're seeing guys get out of coaching earlier than they would have maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Has that, do you see some of that like maybe there is a bit of a younger wave of college coaches, and is that changing anything on these visits?
Well, that's a 2-point answer because I do see it changing because a lot of these coaches, I've known them since they been assistants. A lot of them I've known since they first came.
Yeah,
this is my 44th year in this business, this basketball circle. And I've watched a lot of these college coaches grow up. And then you still have some of your old school guys like Coach Izzo. But when you have these old school guys still in the game, they've got younger coaches on there that can recruit. So, right. And that's important, that can relate. You got to be able to relate to these guys. And I talk to college coaches about this all the time. You have to be able to relate to these kids. And that's the one thing about Coach Izzo. It doesn't stop him from getting the kind of players that he wants. He's got a great staff up there, and those guys have been around. And when you look at Ohio State, Diebler, what more can you ask for from a guy like Diebler that's, I've been knowing the whole Diebler family since he was in junior high school. He's great with the young guys. He builds relationships with the young guys. They understand him, but at the same time, they respect him because they know he's about winning and he's trying to build something at Ohio State. And he's got a great group of coaches there, young and a couple of older ones. But you've got to have that. And when you look around the state, you look at Coach Miller as you see.
Yep.
And the assistants, Coach Morgan and the other guys that he has, it's a younger group as well, and you look at Xavier bringing in Coach Pitino.
Yep.
So keeping Dante Jackson on the staff, who's from Ohio, who played at Xavier. He's been at Xavier for a number of years. It's important, it's really important. So, when these guys go on these visits, it's important to college coaches that they, how they treat these guys. And it's important to the families of how they feel when they left there. Because I've had kids call me and say, Coach, I didn't like to visit. And I'll say, well, why didn't you like to visit? And they'll say, well, they wasn't showing me no love. But they had a couple of other guys there they were showing love to.
Uh-huh.
And that happens. And I said, well, don't take that personal. Those might have been guys that are super, super high on their list. And you might be a kid that they're interested in, but those are kids that are higher on their list. Right. So you can't take that stuff personal. They invited you to the game, but a lot of times young guys get in their feelings and it's understandably so, but it's a tough business, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of like young guys and making decisions, it's an interesting week this week, or I guess last week now, but talking to Marcus Johnson and talking to Sonny Johnson about his decision to stay at Garfield Heights for senior year and not go to a prep school. And you and I both know we've talked about this, like the best kids in Ohio don't often stay in Ohio for more than, or certainly not for their whole high school career. But we're seeing more and more kids are transferring out to go to a prep school somewhere. So what do you think of his decision to stay in Ohio, to have a chance to repeat as Mr. Basketball and a chance to lead Garfield Heights to a state title? What do you think of his decision to stay?
Well, Sonny is my brother. I love Sonny Johnson, and we've had discussions about this. And I was for him not staying here. I thought, and it has nothing to do with the job that his dad does, because he does an unbelievable job with him and with kids, period.
Yeah.
Other than me, and I hope he knows I'll say this, other than me, he might be the best recruiter in the state. But, he really loves and cares about kids, and he helps take their game to another level. And what he does for young men is unbelievable. But as far as his son, Marcus, who's going to have a great career here at Ohio State, I just felt like he should have left, in my opinion. And I told Coach Diebler this, and I told Sonny this, only because I just felt like not what his dad can do. Okay, it has nothing to do with what Sonny can do. It's the level of competition that he's going to play at during his high school year.
Yes.
I don't think that competition that he's going to play at during his high school year is going to help him get prepared for college. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, Sonny's going to get him prepared because he's gotten him prepared all these years.
Right.
And Marcus wouldn't be where he is today without the work from his dad. Right. But I just felt like, and I told Sonny, I said, Sonny, I just believe that he needs to go somewhere where he's going to play against top-notch competition, stay in the gym every day like he is with you, and go up against those top players every day at practice. To me, that helps get you prepared for school.
Sure.
And I also had made another suggestion to Sonny that he just reclassed and maybe come to Ohio State early, where he would be with the team every day. He would practice with the team every day. And that way next year, he'll be bigger, stronger. He would have been ready for Ohio State. But whatever the decision that they made, I respect that decision because that's his son.
Right.
And it doesn't stop me from loving neither one of them.
Right.
But I just thought he probably should have left and went somewhere else because the competition, he's just so far above the competition. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he's that good.
Yeah. What is it about him as a player that you like? Like, what do you think when he does Well, I mean, we'll get to watch him now as a senior, but like, what should Ohio State fans know about him? What do you think they'll see as they get to know his game as a senior and then going into his freshman year at Ohio State?
Man, where do I start? Marcus is just an unbelievable player. He's very smart. He's a smart basketball player. He understands the game. You got to remember, he's been around the game all of his life.
Yep.
From day one.
Yep.
So he understands the game. I mean, he can handle the ball. He can get into the lane. He can shoot the ball off the dribble, whether it's, a three-pointer, mid-range. He can defend. He can just do it all. He's a complete basketball player. But I think what I like about him more than anything is he understands how to pick his spots.
Okay.
He understands when and when not to. He doesn't force a lot of things. He allows the game to come to him.
Okay.
And he can take over a game at the drop of a dime.
Uh-huh.
So Ohio State fans, if you're listening, get ready because the show is coming to Columbus in 2026.
Yep.
27. So you're getting a good one. And,
okay.
And I think that he's got a chance to get paid to play one day.
Okay. So along those lines of do kids stay, do they go? You're someone that's seen this sport evolve and you've seen the different levels of it interact with each other differently, how high school fits alongside AAU and how that all prepares a kid for college. This might be a long topic for another day, but what does Ohio need to do to keep more kids? Like, do you think we can get to his point as a state where someone like Marcus Johnson deciding to stay is the norm because Ohio has so much talent that stays in state? Like, what do you think needs to happen to keep more kids in Ohio?
No, that's not going to happen because the only reason Marcus Johnson stayed at Garfield High School is because of his dad.
Yeah.
Had it not been because of his dad, he would have went somewhere and been able to get paid and receive some very, very good NIL money.
Right.
And that's a big decision for Marcus to make. And
sure.
Because his dad left it up to Marcus.
Right.
So that's a big decision for him to make because he could have went somewhere and got paid.
Yep.
And he turned, he turned down probably a nice sizable amount of money.
Right.
To stay at home with his dad.
Right.
That's, you got to give him his flowers on that one. But until OSHA, comes out with the rule to allow our student athletes in Ohio to receive NIL money, you're going to continue to have kids leave, whether it's football or basketball.
Right.
And I'll tell you, it's going to get worse.
Right.
It's going to get worse. You just had TJ Crumble.
Yep.
Just leave and go to a school in New York. Yep. And they very well could have fought. See, I'm going to tell you this. If somebody was to go take OSHA to court, I truly believe this. If somebody was to take OSHA to court and fight the NIL, they would win. Because how can you tell a young man they can go to McDonald's and work, right?
Right.
But why can't they do an ad for somebody, or why can't they do something for somebody and be a representative of a business and get paid for it?
Right.
Tell me what's the difference?
Yeah.
There is no difference. There's absolutely no difference. And I've had this conversation with people at OSHA who I respect very much. They do a great job. And I've had this conversation with many college coaches, even the ones in Ohio. They've got to change it. They have to, because I think all 50 states need to change it because, now tell me where this makes sense. Now, this conversation can get kind of deep here, Adam. I got all day if you do. but tell me this, if this makes sense. A young high school student can get an agent or get representation, but he can't get NIL money. Where does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah.
Make that make sense. You can get an agent. now in high school that can represent you going to college, handling your NIL, but you can't get NIL money. Most of the time, these kids that get agents, especially if they're really, really good, they're going to get a few bucks anyway. Come on now. I mean, let's keep it real.
Yeah.
But you're telling these kids that they can't go out and get any money because I'm just using Dunkin' Donuts. So if you're listening to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm not saying nothing. If Dunkin' Donuts wants to hire this guy to be a spokesperson for their local business, that's crazy to me.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it's interesting how much like the popular like viewpoint of that has shifted in the last couple of years. Cause I feel like when NIL started in college, there was so much obviously pushback on it. And I can't believe players are getting paid and all of that. And now, I mean, it's common. Like, no, I don't think people bat an eye anymore. And I think the thought of, hey, if you're the person out there, like, you know, playing and doing all the things, then yeah, you should be able to be compensated for it. And I don't know, I struggle to understand why, like, there has to be an age limit on it or why it wouldn't be allowed at the prep level. And it's something that I do. I'm with you 100%. OHSAA has got to figure this out. And I think there's certainly, whether it's that, I think the NIL is a big component of it. I think scheduling is a big component to it. I think there's quite a few things that, yeah, we could probably talk about for a good hour or two that all need to change. But it's tough as someone who, you know, spends all year writing about basketball and reading about basketball and talking about basketball, to keep seeing the best players in the state leave. You know, I'd like to see these guys in state playing each other, and I think it's better for all of us. So I don't know, maybe we'll get there someday.
Well, you got some really, really good players, which we'll get to it shortly. But, you know, now you've got Spires, right? So right. You've got Coach Boyle that's come down here. That's a legend in the prep school hoop from Monteverde. And now he's down to Spires, him and his son. And guess what? Spires can pay you because they're not with OSHA.
Right.
So now if you've got the top kids in the state and Spires decides to go after them and they want to stay in the state where their parents can come watch them play, but they know they're going to get money there and play a national schedule.
Yep.
Why wouldn't they go there?
It's a fair question.
It's already happened, right? It's already happened, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Foster out of Lima, senior, who just left and went to Spires.
Right.
Number 3 player in the state. He goes to Spires. But now he can go to Spires and get NIL money when he can't get it at Lima because it's not permitted.
Right.
Coaches don't like that. You know, I mean, if I'm a high school coach, I don't want to lose my top player, you know, to no prep school. But especially now that you got a big-time prep school in Ohio that can pay my guys, I can be mad, but what can I do? I can't blame them.
Right.
So now, and then I'm hearing there's maybe 1 or 2 more prep schools coming here that's going to be big, that's going to be able to pay players in Ohio. So it's a gold mine. Why wouldn't I build a prep school here in Ohio when I know they don't have no NIL money, but yet I got backing to where I can pay guys?
Right. Yeah.
You know, OSHA better change that rule. You know, and it's going to happen with football too. It's going to start happening a lot.
Yep. So you're 2 years now into your time with Phenom United, right? You're 2 years now?
Yes. Yes, 2 years.
Yeah. So what's it been like being there with them? Like, how have these last 2 years of this chapter in your career treated you?
You know, Adam, I was with All Ohio for 20 plus years and had a lot of great memories. But it got to the point to where I wasn't enjoying AAU basketball anymore. And when I decided to step down, you know, it wasn't Phenom when I just stepped down, but me making that decision to go over with Daryl Peterson was the best decision I could have made. It brought back the joy of AAU and Daryl's. When I first came with Phenom, Daryl has this hat that looks like "Make America Great Again," but it says "Make AAU Ohio AAU Great Again," right?
Okay.
And I remember I telling him, I do not like this hat. because it looked too much like the other one. But that's what we're doing at Phenom. We're making AAU great again. We have in 3 years where we came to be the number one program in the state, one of the top programs in the country, and one of the fastest growing, rising programs in the Midwest is unbelievable. I'm so happy here, and it's just, my son came over from all Ohio, he's doing a great job as well. We just do things different over here. Daryl has a motto of family. We're very, very big into family. Everything we do for our youth, for our student athletes. And all of our coaches are coaches that really care about the kid and that's invested in the kids. And that's why so many of our kids have gotten offers. We had 4 of our kids jump into the rankings this year. We've got, a lot of our kids are getting offers. It's just, we had a good year this year, top to bottom. We've got one of the top girl programs in the country that's doing great. 1, maybe 2 McDonald All-Americans. We've got Carlos Medlock, who nobody knew about, just committed to Michigan State. Now is number 88, I believe, in the country.
Okay.
We've got 3 guys that were offered by Ohio State. So Sean Foster, Isaiah Mack Russell, and Josh Tyson. So, we've got some big time players. We've got Sean Coffey, one of the top 15s in the state. Bryce Curry, one of the top 27s in the state. We just had a guy commit to Wright State. We got another guy that's at OTE right now. So we do things the right way, and everything we do is about our kids.
Yeah. You mentioned the 3 guys that Ohio State has offered. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about those guys?
Sean Foster, who is going to Spire Academy, can flat out shoot the lights out the ball. From anywhere, mid range, can shoot off the dribble, can shoot the 3. Very crafty, very, very good player. Isaiah Mack Russell, 6'5", can be dominating at times, can get to the cup, can handle the ball. Shot is developing very, very well. It's got a nice pull-up mid-range, but he can get downhill with the best of them, and he will dunk over you. Very, very explosive and exciting basketball player. Josh Tyson, number 1 player in the state, 6'2", maybe 6'3" point guard, just very intelligent, can see the floor well, can get downhill, can pull up, shoot off the dribble, can shoot the 3. But the biggest thing about Josh Tyson is defensively, I'd put him on anybody's best player. Very, very quick hands on the defensive side of the ball. And he's just an all-around big-time player.
Yeah, I liked getting to watch him at the team camp this summer at Ohio State. He was his ability to get up and guard people and be aggressive and really kind of assert himself was impressive. You don't often see that, I feel like, at a team camp during the summer. Most guys are really just focused on getting theirs or getting some shots up or getting their points. But his impact at both ends of the court was very easily noticeable, even if you walked in and didn't know who was on what team. Like he got your eye. So
you already, yeah, you know it. And then there's Bryce Curry, who Dave is looking at too. 6'3", 6'4", maybe. That can, probably a 41-inch vertical leap, can just get up and he can shoot the ball. He's very athletic, can get to the cup, defend. So we could possibly have 4 players offered by Ohio State, which he's got several offers as well. Mm-hmm. So, you got Sean Foster with our 15U. Exciting. When I say exciting, he's exciting. about 6 feet guard that can has a really nice vertical, can shoot the lights out the ball, can get to the cup, can pull up and shoot the mid range, and he can defend. I think he's top number 3 or something in the state. So we've got we're sitting pretty good in these next few years, and we've got we're building right now. We're building our 15s right now, but the phone is ringing off the hook, man. So everybody wants to be a part of a program that they see as on the rise.
Well, one more question for you before we get out of here. And you mentioned earlier when we were talking about how like you've known Jake Diebler since essentially middle school, and you've known his family for a long time. What do you think of where he's got the program going into year 2, and what do you think about what we might see this upcoming year from the Buckeyes?
Well, I believe in Coach Diebler. I know what kind of person he is. I know where his heart is. He's a Buckeye through and through. Don't know what this year is going to look like yet.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's going to be good. He's brought in some good talent, but here's the thing. And me and him we've had these discussions. We talk often, but here's the thing that you just don't know, man. When you get guys out the portal, you just don't know.
Yeah.
How they play in practices and scrimmages and all that. I mean, look at what happened last year.
Right.
I remember going to a practice last year, Adam. This was before they played Cincinnati, and I'm like, whoa, they're gonna be good. They gonna be good. And they go down to Cincinnati in an exhibition and lay an egg.
Right.
And I saw at that time, I said, okay, all right, what are we going to do here? And some of the guys they brought in, Coach thought was going to be good, and they should have been good. They didn't help him, So, and this is happening all around the country, Adam.
Right.
Players are getting coaches fired because it's such a different ball game now. Like you're spending all this money. When a coach spends all this money to bring in these players, and these players don't produce, and you don't win, they don't look at the players, man. They look at the coach, and even though it's really not, and I'll say this to the whole world, it's not always the coaching.
True.
It's not the coaching, because a lot of times these players don't get on the floor and produce. And I think sometimes when you pay these players so much money, they don't have that drive and desire no more. And I'm an old school kind of guy, man. But I can tell you now, and I know for a fact that there's guys before there was any NIL money that were transferred to a school that will work their tails off and play their butts off. And there's guys now that's receiving all this money, and they just go in there and play the game. Because why do I have to play hard anymore? I'm getting paid. You understand what I'm saying? So
for sure.
I always wish Coach Diebler the best, but we don't know what these Buckeyes are going to do. We know what Devin Royal can do, and we know what the other guys, Bruce Thornton, can do. We know what these other guys can do, but what are the guys going to do that just came to Ohio State?
Right.
That's a question mark, because I know that.
Right.
We can go watch them in practice, but we don't know what they're going to do when they get on that court. Not yet. We don't. It's coming up. It's going to be soon, but we don't know. But I hope the Buckeyes have a good year, because even though I deal with college coaches all over the country, I'm a Buckeye. I grew up a Buckeye, and I'm a Diebler fan. Him and his brother played for All Ohio, and I was around them all the time. And I know their mom and dad, and they're good people. And I really want to see him succeed at a place that he really wants to be successful at.
Right. Yeah. Not a whole lot else I can add to that. That was a pretty all encompassing answer. So,
now you've been around there. You go up there. What do you think about what you saw? What do you think of the guys that have came in? What do you think about them?
I think that by and large, they seem to have a better understanding of how the game wants to be played, or how they want to play, rather, at Ohio State. I think they have all been healthy this summer and available this summer. And I think that makes a difference, because they've been able to actually, practice a fair amount together and work together. So I think that has helped. Some of the things I've seen from like Christoph Tilly when I've been up there have been like, he might have been the most impressive guy. One day I was there for a whole practice a couple weeks ago, and I just kept noticing him, just different plays he would make, different reads he would make. He had a give and go with Amari Bynum for a dunk. And I just thought, like, when's the last time I've seen Ohio State's 4-man dish it to the 5-man and then cut, get a pass, and then dunk it? Like, I don't know if I've seen that in, I don't know. I don't even know the last time something like that happened. So right. I feel like there's some real, I think there's talent, and I think that there's a baseline of experience with these guys. And I think that's one of the biggest differences to me from last year to this year, is that you're not saying, well, what does it look like if this guy goes from playing 10 minutes a game to playing 25? Or what does it look like if this guy goes from, being the 4th man off the bench to a starter? It's like, Christoph Tilly is a 4th-year player who's started a ton of games in the last 3 years. And Brandon Knoll has been a prolific scorer and rebounder at a lower level, but he's been playing consistently for 3 years. Like, you have guys that have played more college basketball and theoretically should be better equipped to handle a role than maybe some guys who were still figuring that stuff out. So I just think I'm with you, where it's like, you got to see what it looks like when the lights are on, and how does it fit together when you're playing someone that wants to beat you and the score matters. But I feel like that kind of stuff feels different to me, that you have more guys this year that more about than you did a year ago, and you're not projecting quite as much as we were last year, when we're saying, man, what could Aaron Bradshaw look like in 3 months? And man, what could Sean Stewart look like in 3 months? It's like, you expect like those guys that they brought in this year to contribute right away and be kind of steady throughout the year. And I think that's, I think that raises your floor to me, because you can question like, what is the ceiling? But I think enough about your team to feel pretty good that your floor is pretty high. And then how far can you go? We'll see. But I just think there's more of a base for this team to build from based on these transfers than what we had last year.
I'm in agreement with you. See, people probably look at you and say, well, he's a reporter. He don't know about basketball. But, hey, you've been around this a long time now.
Anyone that watched me play in high school might also say the same thing. So I'm just...
Well, it's going to be exciting. Hey, before we go, talk about the big game coming up next weekend.
Oh, yeah, big Texas game. I mean...
Yeah, what's your prediction?
I mean, it's pretty hard to come in and win in Ohio Stadium, especially when everyone's going to be amped up for it. And I think, like most of the state, I really wish it was a night game. I think it's fascinating that you have the number 1 team in the country as an underdog. Like, that's borderline unprecedented. So thanks to that. I'm sure it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome environment. I would like it, if I'm an Ohio State fan, I would like to know a little bit more about my quarterback. I mean, is what it is. But, when you're talking about, it's not the same guy that was leading you down the field last year. So, I mean, I think that has an impact in a game like this, but it is at home. So I don't know that I have a great feel one way or the other. I just think it's probably going to be a heck of a lot of fun and a really good game to watch.
I think it is too. I'm excited to be there. I'll be there, and one of our guys will be there. Josh Tyson will be there with his family, and it's going to be. I can't wait. I've been dealing with Ohio State for probably 30 years. Putting players at Ohio State for a long time. So I'm a Buckeye, man. I'm a Buckeye. I like to see Buckeyes win.
Yeah.
People don't know that football is my favorite sport.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's my favorite sport, football.
Okay.
So we're going to have to get together again, because we didn't get to dive into NIL, what it's doing to college basketball. We didn't get to talk about the portal, things that are really, really affecting college basketball.
Yep.
And just AAU basketball. We it's a lot with that as well, and where kids really get recruited. We could sit on this phone forever, because kids don't get recruited in high school. They get recruited in AAU basketball.
Yep.
So hopefully we can do a part 2 and really finish some of these other things.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll revisit this again here sometime in the not too distant future. So it's always great to get to talk to you, George. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and sharing your experience. Like I said, always great to catch up. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you again. I've got to give you your flowers, man, because I have you on my Twitter, and I check that little box, and everything that you post, I see. And I think that the way that you keep us informed on Ohio State basketball, I don't think nobody could do it better. I like the way that you come live before games, after games. I see it all. You can't run from me, Adam. So I thank you for doing that. I just thank you because the stuff that you give us is what we need. And when it comes to Ohio State basketball. So hopefully other people appreciate you as much as I do.
Well, I'm going to definitely clip that and send that to the bosses. So I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm sure we'll be in touch here real soon. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So thanks again to George for coming on. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was cool to get some perspective from him on quite a few different topics, and certainly to get some, a peek behind the curtain a little bit and like what is happening at like the AAU and high school level in Ohio, where things are headed, where they maybe should be headed. I hope you enjoyed that conversation because I had a lot of fun talking with George and covering all that ground. So thanks again to George Howard for coming on the podcast and giving us so much of his time. So I'm going to wrap this one up here in just a moment. I'm planning that there will be another podcast by the end of the week. Just seems like with them getting on campus and getting underway, we'll get something up here by the end of the weekend and also leading into recruiting visit weekend. So there will be several guys coming to campus. We'll be on Texas for the Ohio State football game. So stay tuned. We'll have coverage leading into that and then certainly coverage coming out of that as well. As for me, I'm going to wrap this one up. You can always send along your questions, your comments, your love notes, your hate mail, and otherwise constructive criticism to me at Adam Jardy on Twitter or ajardy@dispatch.com. Thanks again for listening. Thanks to Patrick Flaherty, the Podfather, for getting us out. I'll be back with you by the end of the week. So till then, be kind, take care, go listen to Oasis. They're back in North America, and we'll talk soon.
Be sure and subscribe to the Buckeye Extra podcast in the iTunes Store, the Google Play Store, or on Stitcher.